Hey, everybody, and welcome. I have with us Ann McIntyre with FRC Marketing Halo, who's does promotional products and apparel, and she's been doing this for 16 years, and I'm very excited to have her here.
I am excited to be here. This is amazing, Fraser. Kudos
Well,
to you.
well, thank you. And you were there at the beginning. That's the cool thing. We were talking about this a few months ago and chatting about what types of things we thought might be really valuable for small businesses. And, you told me your background, and I love, you bring this kind of diverse background of marketing and advertising, communications and graphic design. And I might actually have you shared with me some of that background about your, starting off as a graphic designer. Can you just share, actually, I'm not going to remember it all. Could you share some of that background?
Sure. I started out as a graphic designer working with United Way of America, the headquarters in Alexandria, Old Town. And I started there very young, almost right out of college. And it was so exciting to be working with a major organization. And I felt like I was also helping. It is a nonprofit to help people. And so I kind of felt like I was doing that as well. Well, anyway, cut to the chase. I did end up winning an award for a national award, by the way, for an annual report that I designed for United Way of America. And it was right about that time that I was offered a position in the management side, and I would have to give up doing the art. And I eventually said yes. And that led from one thing to another. I ran a union print shop, little old me under 5 feet, working with these big hefty guys, 6 foot, 300 pounds. I mean, they're like football players, and I'm this little tiny thing, and I'm telling them what to do and negotiating their contract. And that was very interesting. Worked with an ad agency, also in Old Town, worked with a design firm on the Mount Vernon side of Alexandria. I mean, it's been a great run. And actually, that's where I met Chris Paul with FRC Marketing. He's the owner of FRC Marketing. He was a vendor. And when he invited me to work for him and with him, I said yes. Not quickly, because it would have been sales, and I wasn't a salesy kind of gal. I still don't think of myself that way. So, but that's how it all started, and here we are 16 years later. About 7 years ago, FRC Marketing went under the umbrella of Halo. I mean, this is all probably very boring to you, but it's about 7 years ago that happened. And why that's important is because we have an amazing buying power. We have technology at our fingertips. We are very cutting edge, always into what's new and great. And Halo has quite an impressive list of clients, including Disney, Southwest Airlines, Amazon, Home Depot. The list goes on and on. No, none of them are my clients, but I'd love to land a big fish, but I haven't yet.
And so the way you got to this conversation, I remember we were talking about the importance of high touch. And, I think our vision was having businesses think about the importance of maintaining touches with their clients and how can they do it? Everybody knows they should do it, but how to do it. And so, what does a business need to be thinking about in order to become, as you described it to me, like a high-touch business?
Well, as recent as 10, 15 years ago, the number of touches that you really needed in order to land a client would be somewhere between 6 and 8. And now that's closer to 7 to 18. I mean, it's really changed. And the 18, it depends on whether you break out each and every kind of social media that there is, or whether you lump them together. And that's why there's such a difference. Back then, we were more limited. The most exciting thing we maybe had was email. I remember thinking, really? Email? That's how it's going to be? Not a phone call? And now it's not even email, it's texting. So think of it that way. Things are evolving and you have to change with everything that's going on. Right now, though, things are very different. And the way to really market yourself is going back to the way things were a little bit. Think about it this way. It's almost impossible to go and visit somebody at their workplace. Hardly anyone wants to go out to lunch with you. So entertaining a client, probably not going to happen. Giving them a handshake, probably not going to happen. Seeing them at their workplace, nope, don't think so. So we've had to really go back in time a little bit and make it a little bit more personal. So one of my favorite ways of making that more personal, you know what? I'm gonna give you that example, but first I'm gonna give you a little quiz. So can you name 6 different touches? Yep. Can you name them?
Touches. Okay.
Yeah.
I would say a phone call.
Okay.
Could be a touch. A thank you letter or a nice to meet you type thing would be a touch. Maybe like, I guess if we're going into social media, the concept of like liking somebody or connecting with somebody on LinkedIn could be a touch. Obviously, email would be a touch. I'm at 4, and you said 7 to 18, so I'm doing great.
Shoot for 6.
Let's see. How about sending them some like a calendar or sending them some sort of promotional item, or like sending them a book or sending them an article, like something that you've read that you guys discussed, and sending them something of note like that.
You actually hit on my very, very favorite touch, and that is to really make it more personal. So my example, we were talking earlier, and in the background, I heard your dog barking, and you said, "Oh, that's the mailman. We can tell when it's the mailman because the dog barks." And I thought, well, when I am on the internet and I'm looking up things about my own dog, you know, every once in a while I'm going to come across something that mentions your dog and barking in mail. And when that happens, I'm going to want to copy that link and send it to you. Right. That's a touch. And how personal is that? Because, you know, we see commercials on TV where there are children in the background. We're having Zoom meetings where there are dogs and husbands and wives in the background and kids. So it's not this starched look anymore. It's much more relaxed. And I was in a virtual conference. Who thought we'd be saying those words? And they had a keynote speaker. It was Molly Fletcher. And Molly Fletcher told this wonderful story, and I'm not going to get the names right. I'm not a big sports person. She's a sports agent, gone speaker. And she was telling us about how there was a coach somewhere in the U.S. coaching a college team. And he wanted so badly to coach a professional team. And she was the agent of choice. And her job was to find a team and make the best deal possible. Didn't matter where it was in the country. He was willing to relocate. No problem. Negotiate the deal. Done. So she took him on as a client. And she was looking everywhere for a professional team who needed a new coach. And, you know, that doesn't come up a lot, right? So she finally found this opportunity in Florida. And she ran it by him. He was good to go. Yes, Florida, great. Negotiate. Whatever. So she did this great job. She got him millions of dollars, of course. He already knew the coach that had been there before. He knew the owner. He knew some of the players. It was rolling along beautifully. In the contract, they even had a deal where they were going to fly his wife back and forth several times until they got relocated. They were paying for the whole move, finding him and his family a home. I mean, everything was taken care of from A to Z. I should say from A to Y, because there was one little piece that was left off. But unfortunately, that wasn't discovered until after he signed on the dotted line, 7 different copies of the contract in front of television cameras, in front of the team, in front of the owner, and millions of people watching all of this on television. And it wasn't until the following week, after all this was done, the interviews, everything, that he said to Molly, Molly, you got to get me out of the deal. I don't want to do it. And she said, what are you talking about? And he said, I just can't do it. So they talked a little further, and she tells this story, and she says, you know what? It was my fault. It's my fault that this entire deal fell through. And I thought that was pretty amazing that she said it was her fault, because it certainly didn't sound like it was her fault. I mean, she got him a lot of money. She got him this great deal. She got him the job of a lifetime. And then he says, no. You know, the reason was he didn't have the heart to gather his team around at the college and say, I'm leaving you guys.
Wow.
He had known those kids since they were freshmen. Some of them were seniors, and he was leaving them. He was leaving them high and dry. They were a winning team. And he was going to leave. He was going to leave all of his friends, his kids' friends, his wife's friends. Everything that had been important to them in their lives, they were going to leave. And they were doing it because they thought it was a dream job and a whole lot of money. And she took the blame for that. And we're all listening to her tell this story. And I got to tell you, I couldn't figure out why she was taking the blame for this happening, right? I mean, you signed a contract. That's it. Well, she said something that really hit home, especially right now. She was thinking in a transactional way instead of a relational way. So she already knew him. Instead of saying to him, hey, I know it's a great opportunity. I know it's a lot of money. Are you going to be okay with leaving? Have you talked to your players? Have you talked to the school? Are they okay with this? Are you going to be able to part company? How do you feel about that? And it was never about that. And those are the questions that she left out in this whole deal. And that made quite an impression on me. And I think that right now it's more important than ever. I'll give you another example. We had a meeting just very recently with Halo, and you know, they're telling us how Halo is doing and the health of the company and all of those things. Well, unbelievably, the second quarter of the year, Halo's sales were up by 2%. Who else is saying that in my business? I got news for you. Almost no one. And 4imprint, which is the biggest online service for what I do, you know where they are? Down 40%.
Wow.
This is night and day. Now, we're both selling the same things. True, we might have a little bit grander reach, but it's the same products. And the difference is they're transactional and we are more relational. I don't even know if that's a word. Relationship based. Because if you have a relationship with your client, if they're working with you because of that relationship, and it's you, it's this person right here, It's not somebody you don't know who's talking to you from God only knows where. It is me. I am responsible for making you look good. I'm responsible for delivering on time with the budget I said that I had agreed to. And I care. I care about whether you are having success with the product or not. I care about how you look in your new apparel. And 4imprint doesn't know you and they don't care. They're all about the sale. And so when we talk about touches, and you had a great list. And so what I want to add to that is, if you see a podcast, if you read a book, if you see anything at all that reminds you of someone else, reach out and share that. It takes almost no time and effort. Write a little note. Rip an article out of a magazine or a newspaper and mail it to them. Send it to them. I mean, right now, think about your day. So you're coming home around 5, 6 o'clock, and you're going to be in a rush to get dinner, and you've grabbed the mail out of the mailbox, or you've picked it up off the floor or wherever, and you throw it down somewhere, and it's mostly junk and bills. Rarely anything that looks anything like a letter. And you ignore most of it. Now, wow, getting the mail is kind of a big deal, right? It might be that you get to go walk out to the mailbox to get it. It takes your attention away from all those other things you're doing around the house. It's getting the mail is totally different right now. So if you send something in the mail, that's going to be kind of neat. Direct mail pieces are having a comeback. So if you have a favorite graphic designer or printer, get them involved and send out some direct mail, because it's going to get a different kind of attention now than it did a year ago. And include a coupon. Make sure that it is personalized. That's huge right now, is being personal, because we can't be. So we have to do the most that we possibly can to touch in a different way. It's not a physical thing right now. You can't shake somebody's hand. You can't put your hand on their shoulder. You have to reach out in different ways.
I love that, Ann, and I'm sure you have heard of all these things. It reminded me of the Harvey Mackay. You know, Harvey Mackay has his 66 questions that he has all the salespeople answer about, to really understand their clients and to really get to know them, because sure, it's all relational, and it is so easy to move away from that and to focus on shotgun approach or mass approach or posting or whatever. But the truth of it is, it's a person that's going to buy what you're selling. It's a person that has to know you, like you, trust you, all that stuff that's cliche. And you're really talking about getting real and dealing with people through this sort of multiple touches and types of touches.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, that is really what it's all about now. And I think it's kind of exciting. It's taking us, it's having us use modern technology in a way we used to do it before we had technology. So, I mean, everything is very different right now, and people say, so what about the new normal, and when is life going to be normal again? Well, I'm not sure that we're really going to go back to where we were, because we've evolved. I mean, necessity is the mother of invention. Zoom went from 10,000 members to 10 million to 300 million from February to April of this year.
That's incredible.
That's insane. But look, here we are, you and me.
Right. It's 300 million and 2.
There you go. And would you have had this kind of event last year? Would this have been online or would it have been more in person?
Right.
Right? So everything we're doing now is just very different. And you see that everywhere. In every single, I have a friend whose mother is in a senior living home, and they're going to be visiting her and looking through the glass, and they're going to be on the phone talking to her through the glass. I have another friend who lost her aunt and her uncle, husband and wife, in a matter of weeks from one another. She didn't get to go to the funeral. So everything has to be done in different ways right now.
Yeah. Well, and you're really talking about evolving, and in some cases, like you're saying, going back to the way things are. And in many cases, what you'd like to do, I mean, technology is amazing, and it can be dehumanizing, and it can lead to rush, and it can lead to all this stuff. But I think what we're talking about is leveraging technology to have different experiences. And, so what advice do you give? I mean, you're knee deep in the promotional products and what people are using. Like, what do you see right now? If you were just sort of going to sum it up and you're talking to these businesses, what would you recommend them to be thinking about right now in terms of what products are hot, what approaches are hot? If you were just going to give them 3 things to think about to kind of finish up the call, what would those be?
Well, are you asking as far as promotional products? And if your answer is yes, thank you for asking. Anything that is personal. So things that are soft and homey, like a blanket, a soft t-shirt, a soft fleece sweatshirt. I don't know anyone who doesn't like those things. They're wonderful. Things that are personal. We can print on all kinds of drinkware now, especially the stainless steel drinkware. We can print a little square where you can actually write your name in there with a Sharpie. So now that mug becomes yours, and that's safe, and it's personal, and it's thoughtful. You can also engrave someone's name, and how nice to come home one day and you've got this thing in the mail, this box. Now you're not even opening an envelope. You're opening a little package, and it's for you, and it's not your birthday, and it's a nice mug. Businesses are sending their employees work from home kits. And soon they're going to be having back to work kits and back to school kits, like any day now, right? Momentarily. All of these things are really important. Brand name items are just at an all-time high. People would rather buy 12, 24, 100, 200 of something that is higher end with a recognizable brand than send 500 of something that is cheap or inexpensive. So companies would rather make the investment on something that's really nice that you're going to use and appreciate, rather than something that you're going to throw in a drawer or throw away, or give to your kids to play with outside. So that's what's really hot right now. I would say those 3 things.
No, that's great. That's great. A friend of mine once said to my wife that the most expensive food that you're going to buy is the food that you waste, right? The food that you throw away. And
Right.
Just thinking about that and saying, like, what are you really trying to accomplish with the touch? You're not just trying to check a box. You're trying to really establish a connection. And so, don't be wasteful. Don't be penny wise and pound foolish, right?
Exactly. That doesn't mean that there aren't items that are less expensive that are still useful. I'll give you 2 examples. You can do a webcam cover very useful, helps everyone. Everyone can use one, and it's a safety thing, right? So, okay, take that back. I'm going to give you 3 examples because I just thought of one more. I was at a virtual meeting, and there was an attendee who was so devoted to this meeting that the computer, the laptop, was taken into the bathroom with them without turning out the camera.
Great.
Right? Wouldn't it have been nice to just slide that little button over and close the camera momentarily, right? I mean, there's little things like this that we're not used to, and so that would have come in handy. The second thing that I wanted to mention would be a Bluetooth speaker. Outside, they're great outdoors, they're great indoors, you can take them on a walk. Anything that is technology that somebody can use right now would be terrific. So I wanted to throw those 2 things out at you. And then back to the safety department, personal straws. Really hot right now. You're speechless.
Personal straw. I was unmuting myself. Personal straws. That's that's interesting. And so just practically, are those big enough to put a brand name on, or is it the brand name in the package, or how does that
Well, it can be either one or both. There are silicone straws that can just coil into a tiny container that fit on a key ring, so you've got it with you all the time. And then there's others that are even stainless steel, and obviously those aren't bendable, but you can imprint on them. They all come with a little brush so that you can clean them. Like I said, necessity being the mother of invention, those came around the year before COVID hit us and weren't totally embraced by clients. And now you can't keep them on the shelves. You know,
Wow.
We went from the number 1 item being pens in the promotional products industry was pens. And in less than 30 days, we went from pens to masks.
Right. That's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So, and leave us with a thought. Leave us with something that can kind of summarize this concept that you're sharing here. Do you have a favorite thought or quote that you could share?
You know, I heard a new quote. I have to read it. I have it taped to my computer, as a matter of fact, because I want to keep reminding myself. So I have to look down. I'm sorry. People do not buy goods and services. They buy relations, stories, and magic. How cool is that?
That's great. That's a really great concept, and I wanted to let you end on it, but it reminds me of something. There's a book called The Experience Economy, and it talks about how that's everything now is experiences, and this is kind of those little mini moments, right? Those little experiences, the fact that, like you said with Halo, that people are like, Ann cares about me. It's not a transaction, it's a relationship, and I think that's a great it's a great perspective for people to bring to all of the marketing and all the stuff that they're working on. Just really saying, do my customers get that I care about me? And maybe the real question is, do I care about my customers?
Yeah, that's true.
Ann, thanks so much. And if people want to contact you, how would they go about it? You mean your contact information will be up here, but should they call you? Should they email you? Should they send you a fleece blanket?
No, I'll send them the fleece blanket. They can call me, they can email me, they can text me, just contact me, because I really want to help people to find that absolutely perfect item that is going to get them in front of their clients to be remembered and recognized. That is what it's all about. It's getting your brand out there and having people remember you. Just keep in mind, this isn't the only way to do it. There's other ways to do it. It's a fine mix of all these touches. Promotional products is just one of them. These days, it happens to be an important one. And if I can help in any way, I'm just a phone call, email, or text away.
Thank you so much, Ann.
Welcome.